Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Wendy Chen. Thank you for joining us. Coming up in today's top stories, in Indonesia, Tzu Chi is continuing their efforts in restoring the Inca River to its original beauty. In Hong Kong, the establishment of the Tzu Chi Tin Shui Wei Liaison Office is bringing emotional support to local residents. And in our feature report on Taiwan's fading industries, we meet Xu Jinglang from Hsinchu to learn the beauty of glass sculpture. The Inca River in Indonesia is also known as the Black Heart of Jakarta. As more and more people dumped their waste into the river, the mud on the riverbed became even higher. As a result, the river floods every time when it rains, profoundly affecting the life of local residents. Since 2002, as part of their commitment to the region, Tzu Chi volunteers helped build DaAi villages for local residents to relocate and have carried out clean-up work to restore the river to its once pristine condition.
The Inca River is now called the Black Heart of Jakarta as waste fills the river. Since the massive flooding in 2002, Tzu Chi volunteers have been providing constant care for local residents. Moreover, starting from early last year, Tzu Chi has been working with the military to clean up the river.
Before, when the river rose, it would flood our homes. However, after Tzu Chi and the military cleaned up the mud, the flooding problem has gotten better.
In former times, the Inca River was clean. However, as more and more people dumped their garbage into the river, mud has accumulated on the riverbed. Now, whenever it rains, residents have to deal with the possibility of flooding.
We can't dump waste into the river as we did before because it will cause flooding. If we keep doing it, the river will flood again.
To help, 42 Tzu Chi volunteers from Indonesia Tzu Chi chapter and 200 soldiers work together to clean up the mud and waste in the river. Working for 6 days, they cleaned out enough mud to fill half a soccer field.
We hope the military and the Tzu Chi can engage the public and set a good example for them. We also hope the public can learn the importance of environmental protection.
To ensure that the Inca River keeps clean, volunteers from Taiwan and ecology experts are visiting the local area in hopes of drafting a long-term solution to manage the Inca River.
Earlier this year, New South Wales in Australia suffered severe flooding from torrential rains, and Tzu Chi volunteers immediately went to the worst-hit regions of Yanda and Wagga Wagga to carry out relief distributions. Recently, they went back to revisit the flood victims, and the mayor of Yanda expressed his gratitude to the volunteers. In the last distribution, many flood victims took home bamboo coin banks, and this time they donated the money to help those in greater need. The visit was joined by Tzu Chi volunteers from Sydney and Melbourne, where they not only spread the seeds of love, but also reaped the fruits of good deeds.
The flooded farms earlier this year thrive again. Tzu Chi volunteers returned to Yanda of New South Wales to visit the flood victims. Seeing with the volunteers and feeling the great love of Tzu Chi, the flood victims start to cry when they recall the volunteers' timely help.
The organisation that's come here have got an even bigger heart and the love for people they don't even know, that they will probably walk past in the street and you wouldn't even see them. So I'd just like to say on behalf of all of us, thank you so much for coming.
But it's a small community. And what you've been able to give this community is something that they already had. And that was love, compassion for each other, and spirit. And when their spirits were at the lowest, you touched that and helped raise them up. And that's one of the most precious gifts anyone can give.
Rose gives the volunteer a warm hug to express her gratitude.
Thank you. Remember from last time when I was really angry? When I first come here, I was angry because all my possessions were destroyed. And when I left, it taught me to centre You must have let me get my anger out. And because when I left here after all that time, I wasn't angry anymore.
The victims' lives have all gradually returned to normal. Many of them also donate money to help those in greater need.
In Hong Kong, the area of Tin Shui Wai live many housewives from China who feel cut from their adopted home due to language barriers, different culture, and other issues. Luckily, in 2008, Tzu Chi volunteers started carrying out home visits to care for these women and encourage them to participate in recycling every week. This year, the Tzu Chi Tin Shui Wai Liaison Office was finally established, giving residents a place to call home.
The Hong Kong Clock Tower is one of the many historical buildings in Hong Kong. In the early days, it carried many Chinese immigrants who were looking for a better life to the city.
This is a beautiful area. In 2005 and 2006, we did 2 surveys in Tin Shui Wai, and 70% of the residents' responses said that they love this community.
At Tin Shui Wai, one can see many apartment buildings, but since it is far from downtown, it gives one a relaxed feeling. Buildings in Tin Shui Wai have well-equipped public facilities. However, the problems are often behind the metal doors.
There are many housewives that came to Hong Kong from China, and they are not used to the environment, language, or culture here. Most of them don't have friends and relatives in Hong Kong, so some of them will have emotional problems.
To help these families since 1998, Tzu Chi volunteers have been conducting home visits and free haircut services in Tin Shui Wai to encourage the residents to embrace their new home.
When we had events before, we always had to travel to the Tzu Chi Hong Kong chapter in Kowloon Tong. It costs about $8 and it was very far away from Tin Shui Wai.
To get to the Tzu Chi Hong Kong chapter, one needs to take the light rail, MTR, then transfer from the West Rail line to the Tsuen Wan line, and then to the Kwun Tong line. Total time needed was an hour.
Now that we have a Tzu Chi liaison office in Tin Shui Wai, we can provide the residents with a place to talk about the problems and express their feelings. It is a good outlet for them.
At the Tzu Chi Tin Shui Wai Liaison Office, volunteers also designed free classes for the local residents.
Through the flower arrangement class, they can work with their feelings. We hope to boost their self-esteem. After class, they can always take their art pieces home to share with their families.
Artwork not only gives the residents something to bring home, but also provides the residents with something in common.
The local residents will encourage their children's classmates to also join our summer program and our storytelling class.
We also have cooking class that teaches the children how to make their own snacks. We hope to encourage their parents to join them too.
Like the butterfly effect, Tzu Chi spirit is spreading to each and every corner of Tin Shui Wai. In the future, the volunteers hope to bring even more changes to this community.
Lin Chunmei, originally from China's Guangdong, was married to Hong Kong. A stranger to the city, she had no one to talk to about her troubles. She kept her emotions bottled up until one day Tzu Chi volunteers paid her a visit. It was then that Lin realized that she is not alone in the city far away from home.
I was alone. I didn't have any relatives or friends. Every day I would cry, wishing I could return home.
Originally from Guangdong, 29-year-old Lin Chunmei married a man from Hong Kong who is 20 years her senior. Her parents did not give their blessings for the marriage.
Back then, when the economy was bad and my husband lost his job, that's when it was most difficult. The two of us would fight all the time, and I had no one to talk to. I would shut myself up. It was like the world had abandoned me.
Like a pressure cooker, Lin holed up at home and kept all her troubles inside, ready to burst at any time. We would arrange to go to see her one day a month, to have a chat with her, to see how she is, if she's happy, and see if she had any problems she needed solving. Tzu Chi volunteers not only entered her home, but Lin also ventured outside with them.
Ever since I've started attending class here, I have become much more relaxed. I come here to learn flower arrangement or origami and such. I like it all.
It is through simple handicrafts that Lin has found her self-confidence.
If they turn out well, I will display it at home. If guests come over to my house, I will bring them out for display.
She's more cheerful now. She's making friends with other classmates. She also has made friends with the parents in her son's class.
No longer without friends, Lin Chunmei realized that by going outside her house, her life can be full of richness and sunshine.
In order to make the house of her dreams, Li Daxian, along with her husband, spent 4 years building and designing a house made almost entirely from recycled and natural resources. The result is a house that was not only cheap to build, but with its superior insulation, inexpensive to maintain. For Li, the house has shown her the true meaning of feng shui, which for her means to be living in harmony with nature and its flow. Here's more.
In the middle of the woods, a house straight out of a fairy tale suddenly arises before our eyes. Li Daxian, who long dreamed of building her own house, spent years gathering information on eco-friendly architecture. Then, 4 years ago, along with her husband, she started building her house brick by brick and tile by tile. Now she wants to share her experiences with others.
The roof is made up of 3 layers. The first layer, of course, is the wood ceiling that you see when you look up. The second layer is asphalt felt, which is used to keep out the rain and moisture.
When building an eco-friendly house, the hardest part is generally the roof. Although there were many choices, Li insisted on using natural materials.
What you see here are coconut fiber blankets, which are made from coconut fibers. In addition to being completely natural, they provide insulation against the heat and have good water resistance. Because this side faces the front and also faces the east and the morning sun, I decided to use better materials on this wall. It is mainly made up of wood. To that is mixed with a little concrete and red soil. That way, the amount of concrete used is much less, and mainly just for ensuring everything sticks together. When we first wanted to make a wall of books here, we didn't have the materials on hand at the time. So we decided to go to the seashore and see what had washed up. There, we found this tree trunk and some wood planks that we use here. This ladder is made from the steel bar that were left over from my husband's work. This piece of driftwood, we were looking for a certain shape, but it had to be natural. So during another trip to the beach, we found this piece, which fit almost perfectly with what we were looking for.
Who would have thought that discarded items could be used in such an elegant way? In fact, many of the items Lee collected were from houses that were torn down.
These bricks we took from a house that was being destroyed by a backhoe. Once home, we knocked off the concrete that was stuck to the sides. Every time I see them, I get emotional, as this kind of material is quite precious, but no one treasures it. For this bathroom, the floor is simply a layer of gravel that we laid on top of the soil, and then added some medium and large-sized rocks on top of that. That way, if we leave here one day, after you take the rocks away, the natural earth will still be there undisturbed. So our impact is a lot lighter.
Without concrete floors, the water from the shower will flow directly into the soil, which means chemical cleaning products needs to be used sparingly. Although an inconvenience at times, it helps protect the environment and those living here.
This wall is made up of handmade adobe bricks and then covered in a layer of soil to make it uniform.
Sand, soil and straw are the main ingredients for the adobe bricks. After combining the ingredients, the mixture is then made into a shape of a brick. There's no baking necessary. All that is needed is to air dry the bricks, which then can be used and go a long way in controlling humidity.
Earlier this year, everyone had problems with inside humidity, but this house has no problems with it, since the soil soaks up the moisture.
Since moving in, Li Daxian says that she and nature have become close friends, and in the process has learned the real meaning of feng shui.
It was after living here that I realized feng shui is all about nature. It is the flow of wind and water. It is not using anything to block this or that. When we understand how to coexist with nature, we are quite naturally creating good feng shui in our homes.
In Taiwan's night markets or handicraft stores, you probably have seen decorations and artworks made from glass. In today's feature reports on the island sunsets trades, we go to Hsinchu to meet glass sculptor Xu Jinglang, who is able to make just anything from glass. The artisan hopes not only to change people's perspective of glass through his work, but is also passing on his knowledge and skills to those interested. Let's take a look.
In the world of glasswork, one is able to experience the variables of glass.
In the early days, because Hsinchu manufactured silica sand, the glasswork industry flourished here. In the Japanese colonial period, we already have glass factories, and in the 1960s, glass became not just a daily necessity item, but artwork.
Taiwan's Hsinchu is where glassware flourished. Xu Jinglang began learning the craft when he was only 13 to help support his family.
Next to the glass museum, there was a zoo, so when I was working on my artwork, I thought I could make some of them in animal shapes and sell them in the zoo.
Xu began making animal-shaped glass items, and at 16, he even set up his own workshop. Today, with decades of experience, the artisan is devoted to glass sculpturing.
Glass is actually a great material in making handicrafts, because not only is glass cheap, but you don't need many tools. This way, it is very cost-effective and it is easy to operate. You are able to see the outcome of your work right away.
Apart from the low cost and the plasticity of glass, the material can also be preserved for thousands of years without damage. Xu Jinglang first softens a piece of glass through firing. Next, without molds, he makes the glass sculpture using simple tools.
Of course, this is hot. I'm working under high temperature. You can't touch it with your hands. With doll figurines, you can use your hands, but this, we work in the air.
Xu Jinglang is asked to make a cat sculpture out of glass.
Making a cat is no problem for me. In fact, I can make any kind of animal in a short period of time too. Here's the leg, and here's the rounded fortune cat.
Within 5 minutes, the piece is ready.
When I'm working on a piece of art, I make them out of things in my daily life. For example, I live in Nanliao, so I really like the ocean. Now that we are living in the mountains, I also really like the flowers and birds in this area, so I use these as themes in my work.
Whether it is marbles or ink brush and pen holder, Xu Jinglang works to put his creativity to the test and has changed the general public's idea of glass.
Normally when we speak of glass, we think it is fragile, and to avoid damaging it, we don't touch it either. But with marbles, you can actually play with them, which shows that we are able to build a relationship with glass.
In the 1970s, Hsinchu's glass sculpturing became very popular and artworks were sold worldwide. However, in the 1990s, as many factories relocated overseas, the industry declined. In 1995, Xu Jinglang took on the responsibility of passing on his knowledge and skills to whoever was interested in learning the craft.
Alright, let's attach this together. You must roll it properly and shape it right.
Sharing his experience, students from around the island arrived to learn from Xu. Some uses a camera to record the class, while others listen intently and takes notes.
The requirement to enter this trade is not strict, and unlike other craft work, which is difficult, you can achieve a sense of accomplishment in your work in a short period of time, and later on you can work on improving your skills.
With no limit, students are given the freedom to create anything they want.
We are making accessories as gifts for our friends and family. Everyone is happy. Our children use these as hairbands. It's really cute.
Xu Jinglang shares his perspective on what is needed for the traditional craft work to shine on.
In the future, there will be two paths to this handicraft. One is the traditional way of decorating glass, and the other is that you have to be creative and design things completely out of the ordinary.
Traditional decoration reminds one of the past, and creative artworks demonstrate the beauty of glass sculpturing. Xu Jinglang, who was invited to exhibit his work overseas, is ensuring the fading trade shines on.
Tzu Chi's founder, Master Zheng Yan, believes that the 7th lunar month should be celebrated as the month of auspiciousness and filial piety. Thus, Tzu Chi volunteers from around the globe, including Taiwan's Hsinchu and Nantou, as well as Malaysia's Kedah, have been promoting vegetarianism and encourage residents to donate the money used buying just paper to those in need. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.